It's all right, guys. So this is going to be the first fasting testimonial, hopefully of many on the channel. Today, I've got a friend of mine, Casey, here, who's going to tell her story of her fasting journey. I'm just going to ask some pretty simple questions, and let's get started. So, Casey, how did you first learn about fasting?
Yeah, so I first learned about fasting actually from my friend here, Dragon Slayer. And we were at an event together, and he just happened to randomly talk about fasting and the health benefits of fasting. And, I could tell he was really passionate about it. And so I there really wasn't a whole lot of conversation about it between the two of us. I just happened to hear him kind of talking to some other people about it, and it just got me really intrigued.
Well, what's funny about that was when you had first mentioned to me that you had started fasting, I was shocked because, like you said, I don't even know if I was talking to you directly. I think I was just
I don't
talking
think you
in
were.
general. Yeah, and like you kind of picked up on it because I am really passionate and I tell people about it all the time. So I forget who I say what to, but I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what were some of your concerns about fasting before you got started?
Yeah, so I had heard of fasting before, but I had never implemented it and I hadn't done any kind of research on it. But one of the concerns that I had was that was I going to starve myself? Um, and was it safe? Because everything that society has taught me is, you got to eat 3 square meals a day. And, I had that running through my mind. So I was a little apprehensive at first. Yeah.
Cool. So, what resources did you look at to learn more information about fasting?
Yeah, so I did a lot of research after we had our event, and I went on YouTube and I went in a lot of different places. But two of the main sources that I ended up landing on were Dr. Eric Berg and Barbara O'Neill. And I learned a lot on like how to heal my body naturally and to lose weight. And then also just along with a lot of like doom scrolling on TikTok, um, you know, like fasting and then searching it and then just, in the middle of the night, just scrolling to see what I could find. So,
Wow, yeah. So I actually have never looked on TikTok at fasting videos. I should. Now you've got me
really?
interested. Yeah. I don't,
Yeah.
it's so weird. I'm just not much for social media. Like I love YouTube and I watch it habitually and I'm always learning things, but I feel like TikTok is like the underbelly of social media. I just see it as like dance moves and crazy zany Gen Z stuff. But yeah, now you've got me interested. I want to go dig into TikTok and see what I can find.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what fasting protocol did you choose and why?
So I don't know that I chose a specific protocol from a specific individual, but one that I found that works best for me, at least at this point in my like health journey, is I do a 6 in 1. So 6 days a week, I'm gonna fast at least 15 to 18 hours a day. And then one day a week, I fast for 24 hours. And so that's kind of my goal. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. That's one of the things that I think I've learned the most is like don't be so hard on myself. Because sometimes schedules don't allow it. I'm really busy with my family, and so I have to do what's going to work best for all of us. And so sometimes I have to the fast might be 13 hours instead of 15 hours.
Mm,
So that's generally what I try to follow.
cool. So, what were some of the mistakes or lessons learned throughout your fasting journey?
Oh, I had a lot of mistakes to begin with. One of the big ones was not getting enough electrolytes and not getting enough protein. I made that mistake fairly early on and regretted it terribly because along with the fasting, I also try to eat low carb. I don't necessarily eat keto, but I do try to eat low carb. And if you do not get enough protein and if you do not get enough electrolytes, you will feel very, very sick. To the point of like you think you have the flu. And in fact, I've heard it called the keto flu.
Yeah.
Some people might be familiar with that term. Also, again, coming back to eating enough protein. I was terrified of my hair falling out because I've heard that that can happen if you don't get enough protein,
Mhm.
especially as a female. When you start losing a lot of weight in a dramatic way, you can lose your hair. But one thing that I found to combat, the keto flu and making sure that I have enough electrolytes in my system, is utilizing Celtic sea salt. I will simply like dip my finger in it in the morning and put it on my tongue, and it's got like 80 trace minerals in it. And it can help, rejuvenate those electrolytes in your body and help you stay hydrated. I know you love salt as well. You're a salt connoisseur, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sure you know about the Celtic sea salt.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was a big learning curve for me to find out, like, okay, how much water do I need to drink? How much protein do I need to drink? And or eat rather. And you know, I started eating for protein in my meals rather than, what's going to taste the best. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what am I going to use to fuel my body? Um, and then the other lesson that I learned, and it was kind of a mistake in the beginning, and I think a lot of people who are on a health journey struggle with this, is always looking at the scale. Like, it's not about the scale,
Yeah.
it's about how I feel. And is where I'm at with my weight, is that going to add vibrancy to my life? And so that's kind of where I've been.
That's awesome. So, how long have you been fasting, and how do you feel today compared to before when you first started?
Yeah, so I started back in February, after our event that we had, and you had mentioned it, and I was just sort of dabbling in it, and definitely not as strictly as I am now. But I would say I was fasting anywhere between, 10 and 12 hours. It was just very, very small amount in the beginning, just to try and push myself. And I found it to be more of a mental battle than a physical one. um so when I first started, I didn't feel good. I was tired, depressed, I was pre-diabetic, and truthfully just miserable. So
So, what now that makes me interesting when you say that, because I know a lot of people sort of when they first start they have struggles. So, how were you able to push past it? Like, what motivated you, despite feeling so terrible in the beginning, to just keep going? And why didn't you quit?
right, yeah. So one of the things that really pushed me was being better for my family. I wanted to better myself and be able to be there for them and to run and play and do all the things, and also just my mental well-being, feeling better about myself.
Wow, that's awesome. So I know that weight isn't everything, but of course, people love to know, like, how much weight have you lost so far?
Hmm. Yeah, so I've lost about 45 pounds
Wow.
now.
Over what period of time again?
I started back in February.
February. So that's
Yeah.
6, maybe 7-ish months. That's
Hmm.
incredible. And
Yeah.
at what point did it start to get easier? About how long did it take you before it wasn't a struggle and a grind every day?
It took a little while. I mean, it takes time to build routines and figure out what works best for you. And like I said in the beginning, just going overnight and not
Mm.
getting up and eating the first thing in the morning was a struggle. And so now I feel like I've gotten into a better routine and have an idea of what my body needs. And it's just figuring it out over time.
Cool. So what are your new health goals?
Yeah, so new health goals would be it, and it does include like a number, but at the same time, I'm not going to say what that number is, but it's more about how I feel and then deciding what my body needs. So like
Okay.
I might get to a number and be like, you know what, this is good. Like I feel good. I've reached the goal that I want to be at. And that I think that is important, is to not always focus on the number.
So if you were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, one being, absolutely miserable, 10 being the best ever, how did you feel before you started fasting? And then how did you feel like today?
Give me the scale again. One
So
was the
one is just,
worst.
yeah, just like I feel absolutely miserable, the worst I felt, and 10 feeling the best I felt. Like kind of
Probably
what's that scale look like for you?
probably probably a one.
Really?
It was, yeah, it was
Wow.
really bad. I mean, I was the heaviest I had ever been. I
Okay.
was depressed. I felt terrible about
Okay.
myself, and overall, like I said, I was pre-diabetic.
Mhm.
Luckily I hadn't needed any blood pressure medication or anything yet, but my dad is diabetic, and I
Mhm.
see the struggles that he has, and luckily he can control his with his diet, but he just talks about how much he hates it, and I didn't want that for myself.
Okay. Man, a one. That's really rough. And then
It
today,
was,
what would you put that number at today?
I would say, probably like an 8 or a 9.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to feel that good. That's
I
amazing.
feel I feel a
Okay.
lot better. Yeah,
That
it's
is
been great.
that's awesome. So what would be some advice that you would give to anyone who is currently thinking about fasting but is afraid to start?
Yeah, so I would say just start.
Okay.
It's literally that simple, of just start. And I think that's with any health journey, whether it's fasting or you have some other, you know, thing that you want to try. It's just a matter of just starting. And it might be going an extra hour without eating that you normally do. I think the important thing is to just start, and also make sure you're hydrated and eat enough protein.
Cool. Well, do you have any other closing comments or anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Well, nothing to the audience, but just thank you to my friend here for unknowingly putting me on a path to change my life.
That's awesome. So, do you feel empowered to, now that it's worked so well for you, to also be an evangelist and spread the good news of fasting to the rest of the world?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Cool.
it's been a great journey, and my husband also does fasting as well, and so we're all about it now.
That's awesome. All righty. Well, thank you so much for taking this little interview, Casey. I think it's going to help a lot of people there. So many times we can read, I've done years and years of research and studying, but reading a book is very different to then seeing a live person and talking to someone from a personal experience. And so that's why when you told me your story, I was like, this is incredible. Like, I want to get it out there. And I hope that you're the first of many, many interviews. I want to get all of the
Yeah,
success stories of people fasting out there because it takes it from data in a lab and it puts a face on it and a voice. And you're just sharing your experience, right? You're one data
right,
point of millions, but there are millions of people out there who I think could also benefit from this information. So thanks for
right.
being here today. And I know it's a little cheesy, but I'll do my signature close. I always say at the end of my videos that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon. Thanks.